Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you are good. This is Fasi LG. This will be the third module. So the next one is the last module, which is the module 4. Alright, so I hope you are ready to listen. So sit back and relax. By the way, before we start, for this lesson, you're going to learn the growth of literature around the world. Alright, so we have here the guide questions. Number 1, identify the presented texts and authors from Asia, Europe, and America. Number 2, to distinguish the text in the context of the region, the nation, and the world. Are you ready? Yes, you should be ready. Alright, so let's proceed. In Asian literature. For Asian literature, we have Chinese literature, we have Indian literature, and Japanese literature. Alright, so let's proceed to Chinese literature. So Chinese civilization is the oldest civilizations in the world that date back to the Shang Dynasty in 1765 before Christ. It is known as the Red Dragon. Why Chinese literature is known as the Red Dragon? It is simply represent the success, power, and good fortune. We have the 5 classics books, the Book of Changes, the Book of History, the Book of Rites, the Book of Odes, and the Spring and Autumn Annals. We have here the Confucius, or no other than Confucius. And for the information of all, Confucius is the first teacher in China. And he is also the greatest philosopher of the world has known. One of the truly great men that China has produced. Alright. And the word Confucius is westernized from his name, which is Kung Fu Chi. Kung being his proper name, Fu signifying reverb, and Chi signifying teacher. As you can see, he is the greatest philosopher of China, and also not just a philosopher, but also he is a teacher. Alright, so let's proceed to Laipo. Okay, Laipo was one of the leading Chinese poets of the 8th century. His writings deals with the good things of life and with pathos of human destiny. With a striking vividness, they treat of love, friendship, wine, nature, and simply village living. Here is one of the poets of Laipo, Quiet Night Thoughts. Before my bed there is bright moonlight, so that it seems like frost in the ground. Lifting my head, I watch the bright moon. Lowering my head, I dream that I'm home. That is the famous poet of Laipo. We have also Fu Chu. Fu Chu was a well-known Chinese poet who presented the classical tradition in Chinese literature, politics, and morality. So we're done in Chinese literature, so let's proceed in Indian literature. Are you ready? Alright, so India is a vast land in southern Asia, and when we say vast, it is excessive or malawak, okay? Extending from the Himalayan mountains south to the tip of a great peninsula that reaches from out in the Indian Ocean. It is known as the land of prayer. The first characteristic we notice about Indian literature is that it is based on piety or godliness, a deeply religious spirit. Okay? Alright, we have Dravidians, Dravidians. It is the earliest people in India dating back 3000 to 2500 before Christ towards 2000 before Christ. We also have the literature of India. We call it Sanskrit. The word Sanskrit means cultivated or perfected. We also have the Bible of Indians. We call it Vedas. Okay? And we also have here Ramayana and Mahabharata. It is the most important epics of India. Okay? We have Ramayana. It's about reincarnation of Creator, God Vishnu, and the person of Rama, who is hero of epic. We also have Mahabharata, deals with other reincarnation of Vishnu and the person of Krishna. It is considered as the greatest epic of India. Alright, next we have the roots of Indian literature. Okay, we have here two roots of Indian literature. We have Rig Veda, made up of hymns in praise of the gods. It is the songs, okay? The hymns are strong, energetic religious expressions comparable to the Old Testament songs, okay? For number 2, we have Upanishads. Consists of a group of sketches, illustrations, explanations, and critical comments on the religious thoughts suggested by the poetic hymns of Rig Veda. Alright, so we have here the Indian drama. And by the way, Basa is the first great name in Indian drama. Okay? So we have Kalidasa, the greatest writer of plays. He is the author of Sakuntala, and he is also called the brightest of the 9 gems of genius. We also have Shakuntala. It is the story of king who goes hunting in the woods and meets a beautiful maiden named Shakuntala, with whom he falls in love. We also have Pachantatra, 5 headings. It is a book that is said to contain the first fables ever written. So when we say fables, it is the stories of animals who behave like human beings. We also have Rabindranath Tagore, was a great Indian poet and dramatist. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 and was knighted by the British government in 1915. So let's proceed in Japanese literature. Japanese literature, also known as the land of rising sun. We have earliest Japanese literary works, Kojiki as records of ancient matters, Nihongi and as chronicles of Japan. We have 3 types of Japanese drama. We have no play. It is the national theater of Japan. We also have number 2, Chururi or puppet play. They are using puppets, so the puppets are beautifully made and lifelike in size. The strings are expertly manipulated and dialogue realistically interpreted. Number 3, we have Kabuki play, the play of masses. It is less intellectual, more realistic, and even sensational. Alright, we have here Japanese poetry, Manyushu. It is a collection of myriad leaves. It is the oldest collection of poetry. It was compiled in 8000. The collection titled 100 Persons was compiled much later. We also have Haiku and Tanka. Haiku and Tanka was discussed in Module 1, if I'm not mistaken. And when we say haiku, it is the shortest form of Japanese poetry. It is most popular. It has 17 syllables. 3 lines of 5, 7, and 5 syllables. Alright, we also have Tanka, a 5-line poem. The first and third lines have 5 syllables each, and the other 7, making a total of 31 syllables per poem. Alright, so let's proceed in European literature. European literature refers to the literature of Europe. Of course, it is in Europe. European literature includes literature in many languages. Among the most important of the more modern written works are those in English, Spanish, French, Dutch, Polish, German, Italian, Modern Greek, Czech, Russian, and works by the Scandinavians and Irish. We also have the influential works of ancient literature include but not limited. We have the Epic of Gilgamesh, the world's oldest epic, the Code of Hammurabi, the world's first codified law, Book of Dead, compilation of Egyptian pantheon and rituals, Holy Bible, the sacred scriptures of Jews, Iliad and Odyssey, the epic of Greece, and Metamorphosis is the compilation of Roman mythology and culture, Aeneid and the epic of Rome. We have here the influential persons during this era. We have Johannes Gutenberg, who invented the movable type printing press. Desiderius Erasmus, who initiated the humanism movement. Martin Luther initiated Reformation in Europe. Christopher Columbus, who discovered the New World, the Americas. Christopher Marlowe, who wrote Dr. Faustus. And let's proceed the last one, American literature. So American literature, it was the era of colonizing the continent. Since not only the English explored and claimed the territories, the beginnings of American literature are more or less connected with the French, Spanish, or Dutch literatures as well. Alright? So the topics common in the early periods were connected with the issues of living a new land, agriculture, explorations, and relations with native people, and traveling like travelogues or journals. Alright, so we have here John Smith, who is considered to be the first American writer. That is John Smith, and he was an explorer and colonist. He helped found Jamestown in 1607. His A True Relation of Virginia is said to be the first American book written in English. We also have William Bradford, who was a Puritan writer who described life in the early English settlements. His book of Plymouth Plantation is full of religious topics and depictions of difficult in life colony. We also have Benjamin Franklin, one of the most important figures of the period. He can be described as what we call Renaissance man, a person of many skills. He was politician, scientist, philosopher, publisher, humorist, inventor, and writer. Franklin writes about his life, his successes and failures, individualism. His style is very plain and it is one of the first depictions of the American dream. We also have Thomas Paine, who was an English-born essayist and pamphleteer. His pamphlet Common Sense is a sharp critic of the colonial system and explain why the American should rise against the English. Alright, we also have Thomas Jefferson, was an architect, essayist, lawyer, politician, and later became the third President of the United States of America. His greatest contribution to the history of America is that he is the main author of the Declaration of Independence, which was adopted by the Continental Congress on 4th July 1776 during the War of Independence. And we also have Washington Irving, was an American first professional writer and the founder of short story in the USA. Rip Van Winkle being one of his famous short stories. Alright, we also have last Edgar Allan Poe, one of the most important figures of the American literary tradition, who is the founder of modern America horror story and detective story. His short stories often describe the darkest states of human mind and mysteries solved by logic. The most famous short stories by Poe include The Pale Heart, The Black Cat, The Pit, and The Pendulum. Okay, we also have here the American realism and naturalism. Just as in Europe, the period of Romanticism and was followed by the period of realism. We have Mark Twain. He is a great American novelist. Harriet Beecher Stowe. He is the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, where she fought against slavery. Henry James, who wrote psychological novels and compared different cultures. Stephen Crane, who wrote Maggie. Jack London, he is the author of White Fang, The Call of the Wild. Theodore Ordeazer wrote Sister Carrie and An American Tragedy in 1925. Upton Sinclair, best known book is The Jungle. And last one, we have Ezra Pound. He is one of the most complex writers in American history. Alright, so that's it for today. I hope that you learned from me. Again, this is Fuzzy Algin, and see you again to the next discussion. Thank you for listening. Bye!